Guess who I am? Money! Woo! You know? The federal government, duh! Well, now we have a mess. Sounded like a good idea in my head, but now that I look at it, not so much. Let's get into the video. Fire up the money printer because we have another proposal for a second stimulus payment that we need to cover. Yeehaw! Holy smokes. This one's gonna get expensive. This time it's been proposed by Senators Kamala Harris, however you say her name, Bernie Sanders, and Ed Markey. Now, I already covered the previous 3 proposals for a second round of stimulus money. I'll link up to that video in the description. As if we already didn't have enough proposals, I'm starting to think that a lot of these Congress people are just throwing these suckers out to at least be able to go back in time and say, hey, you know what? I proposed something, so you should vote for me for whatever future election we have going on. It seems like it's a freaking joke. In this video, we're gonna cover what this proposed bill is, the amount that it'll pay out, how they'll deliver the money, other details that you wanna know, and I'll throw in my thoughts about everything throughout the video and towards the end of the video as well. Hey, I'm Jarrad with an A, and on this channel, we talk about all things personal finance, investing, and we try to have a little bit of fun in the process. The newest kid on the block of stimulus proposals is being called the Monthly Economic Crisis Support Act. Now, I'm just gonna call it MEC, M-E-C for short, because if I called it Mecca, then some of you might get it confused with that little place in Saudi Arabia, which in turn will make some of you mad at me, and the next thing I know that you'll probably be calling my mom and telling on me, and then she's gonna ground me for a week or 2. Hey mom, I'm getting hungry. When's that meatloaf gonna be ready?
You hungry? Hey, Ma! Can we get some meatloaf?
Keep in mind that this is only a proposed bill and nothing more than that. It still has to be voted on by the House, Senate, and the President needs to sign it before anything is official. After it's proposed, it's subject to change and is by no means the final product. If you love or hate anything about this proposed bill, then contact your congressperson to let them know. Since they work for you, they should take your thoughts and opinions into account when they vote on this. As always, I took all of this info directly from the bill. I'll have it linked up down in the description so you can't whine to me in the comments about how this is fake news.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
Eligibility is going to be pretty close to the first CARES Act, but the income limits and amounts paid have been increased. Before we talk numbers, as always, I and my dog Molly would greatly appreciate it if you Hulk smashed that thumbs up button. If we get enough of them, I might even buy her a treat or 2. For this one, the payment is going to be $2,000 per month plus an additional $2,000 per dependent per month up to 3 dependents. I'll break down income limits and example amounts in just a minute, so hang on. Now, you will not be eligible for this money if you're a non-resident, an estate, trust, or a person who is claimed by someone else because you're their dependent and they're gonna get the $2,000 per month on your behalf. Don't get mad at me. I know there's going to be some comments coming. That's just how the bill is written, so don't give me a thumbs down just because of that. I am just reading to you what the bill says. If you file as head of household and you have 2 dependents, then you'll receive $6,000 per month because $2,000 times 3 is $6,000. If you're married filing jointly and you have 3 dependents, then you would receive $10,000 per month because $2,000 times 5 people is $10,000. Now, with this same example, if you have 4+ dependents, then you will still only receive $10,000 because those additional children above 3 do not count. The income limits have gone up from the first CARES Act, but it also phases out a lot faster. If you're married filing jointly and you make $200,000 or less, then you're eligible for the full $2,000 amount. If you file as head of household and you make $150,000 or less, then you're eligible for that full $2,000 amount. Can't forget about my single friends. If you file as single and you make $100,000 or less, then you're eligible for the full $2,000 per month. Here's how the amounts phase out. For every $1,000 you make over the amounts that I listed, your monthly payment would be reduced by 10%, aka $100. Here's an example of how it phases out so nobody has to do math in their head. So if you were a single person who makes $105,000, then you would be $5,000 over the limit. Now, because of that, you would would knock $500 from the $2,000 monthly payment. So your monthly payment would then be $1,500 per month, because $2,000 minus $500 is $1,500, hashtag math. If you make $10,000 over the limit, then your payment would be $1,000 per month. If you make $15,000 over the limit, then you'd receive $500 per month. And if you made $20,000 over the limit, then you would receive, wait for it, nothing. Once again, don't get mad at me if you're over the limit or if you're mad about those limits or how it phases out. I'm just regurgitating what that bill says.
Ma, the meatloaf!
This bill is retroactive, so it would actually start back in the past. It would begin the month of March 2020 and end the third month after the Secretary of Health and Human Services determines that this health emergency is over. That means that if this bill was passed in June, then you would receive money from March, April, and May as well. Incomes will be based on your 2019 tax return. Now don't worry, because if you didn't file yet, then they will go off your 2018 tax returns. Settle down, because if you didn't file in 2018, you're covered. If this information isn't available from 2018 and 2019, then they'll work with federal and state agencies to determine stimulus eligibility. This is going to help them account for foster children and people experiencing homelessness. As we all know, there were so many problems with how they dispersed money from the first $1,200. So let's get into how they plan to pay out this proposed stimulus money. Direct deposit will be used for anyone who has received a refund on their taxes in the past. Now, if you had to set up a direct deposit for the first stimulus check, then they should technically still have your account info on file. The next would be through a way that they would determine if the bill is passed. Now, this could be through a card that they put money on and reload it, or an online payment system. So something like Cash App or Venmo or Zelle or PayPal or something like that. Since they left the second way kind of open-ended, I wouldn't be surprised if they determine that sending physical checks in the mail is a better option. I know, checks kind of scare you, right? So this is what they're going to do. 15 days after they send your payment, they'll send a physical communication like a postcard or a letter to your last known address. Now, this letter will let you know how they sent your payment, how much they sent you, and an IRS number for you to call into just in case you have any issues and didn't receive your payment. If you are worried that someone's going to intercept your money before it gets to you, the bill was also written to cover someone who might owe money to a financial institution. It says that if you were supposed to receive money from this stimulus, then a financial institution is not able to garnish or freeze your payment. There's probably going to be a lot of questions as to if you're going to get the money if you owe back child support, and I'm not sure, because this part of the bill specifically says that financial institutions aren't able to garnish the money. And I don't think it's a financial institution that handles back child support. So what are my thoughts on this? The first thing that came to my mind after reading all of this is, holy smokes, this would put a ton of money into a lot of people's hands. In a perfect world, this is great, but I don't think it's going to happen the way the bill is currently written. Now, they always like to ask for more at first, then negotiate the numbers down to something that's more reasonable, so always keep that in mind. Our representatives in Congress are currently working on a second CARES Act right now, which is going to cover a whole bunch of different proposals for individuals and businesses and local and state governments. Think of it like one big bill that has a bunch of smaller bills and proposals within it. We're most likely going to see a combination of the bills that were already proposed, like EMPA, Boost, the rent and mortgage cancellation, and the one that we're talking about in this video as well. I think there's a high likelihood that something is going to pass to where it puts more money into individuals' pockets. Because you got to think, with a presidential election happening later this year, both sides are going to have that in the back of their mind when figuring out if they should move forward with handing more money out. In my opinion, it's just as much a political play as it is a way to help individuals and businesses and state and local governments that need the money. Realistically, neither side wants to be the one who decided that they shouldn't give additional funding to those people and businesses. As much as I hate the fact that politics is going to play a part in this ultimate decision, that's just the reality of our situation right now. Another thing to keep in mind is that the Federal Reserve is publicly telling Congress and the White House that they should spend more money to prevent even deeper economic damage. The Fed has taken a ton of action since this health and financial crisis, so they're essentially telling Congress and the White House that they need to help out a little bit because they can't help prop up the economy all by themselves. all by themselves, all on their own. Sorry, I can't talk, even though I make videos on YouTube. One thing we all have to remember is that this money is not free. I cannot stress that enough. You, me, and all future generations will pay for this through higher taxes or inflation. Now, they may say that it's going to make us stronger in the long run, but we won't actually know until we're 5+ years down the line. Make sure to Hulk smash that thumbs up button. Watch these videos to your left next that I picked specifically for you. I'll have all kinds of resources and playlists in the description of this video to help you out with all of your personal finance and investing needs. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Adios.